Hi, I'm Cristine Rayner. Shh. Welcome to Momming at Midnight. The kids are asleep. The topic of today is curriculum and materials. Welcome to my show and tell. Disclaimer, everybody's different, so your kids may or may not like some of these things. You don't have to go out and buy everything that I show you today. Something you don't want to be caught without is some really nice whiteboards. We use our whiteboards constantly. You can see it's got a lot of use out of it. It's fun for the kids, you can use different colors. It's a whole lot better than buying paper every single month. If your child writes something down that you really do want to keep on a dry erase board, just take a picture of it. Dry erase boards are good for math, they're good for spelling, hangman or other fun games in between subjects. I prefer to use this type of dry erase marker because you have two ends and you have erasers on the tips on both sides and you have multiple colors to use. They also have magnets, which are really fun for the kids to use and they don't get lost easily. Make sure your first lesson with the magnets is not to put them on the TV or screens. When you're picking out school supplies, it's really important to have your kids pick out things that they are drawn to. I tend to love these Ticonderoga pencils, especially the ones that have some grip on it. My daughter loves this one. It's a pen, so we use it only on certain things, but it has a color that she's in love with, and it has a diamond on the end. If your kids like the materials, your kids will use the materials. Anything you can do to get them more excited about doing schoolwork is a good thing. It's so much easier to get kids to do their work when they are motivated, when they have something to look forward to, when it's fun for them, and they got to have some decision making or some choice in the process. I'm just gonna walk through a few things that I love using or have used in the past. This is a book that we have used many times. It has so many timelines, which is really helpful for all sorts of history and geography, many different subjects. This book was about $30. That's a little bit pricey for the type of books that I usually get because we can utilize so many resources from the library, but this one is a keeper. This book can be used for your child's entire education. It can be used for many different grades, and it's something I still like to look at when I'm an adult. The pages are full color, just a wealth of information. Something I like to do at the start of the year is to write down our calendar for the school year so that we can do some planning for field trips, brainstorm ideas about where we'd like to go, things we want to study. This is a simple calendar book. You'll notice inside it has no numbers. So every year what I do is I print out some of these and have my daughter write in the calendar herself and help me plan some things that she would like to do or that we are going to do together. This helps her learn how to plan and organize her life, and it's really helpful for planning our schoolwork as well. This is something simple that you can reuse every single year as long as you make copies of it instead of writing directly in it. This particular resource is from Lakeshore Learning. Here are some examples of workbooks that we've used before. This is Evan Moore First Grade Daily Reading Comprehension. My daughter already was doing really well with reading in first grade. We didn't end up using this very often, but as you see here, you can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It shows you the skills week to week that you might be focusing on. It also shows your children how to read the passage and then fill in the bubbles below for the answers. I find this useful for future testing. Many kids that are homeschooled don't have that much practice with testing, and so something like this gives an early rendition of what to expect if they ever have to do Scantron tests or if they ever do tests for college or other sorts of multiple choice testing. That's when you get to draw and then write about your drawing. I found this one to be really fun. My daughter was always interested in doing this one. This again comes from Lakeshore Learning, and the brand again is Evan Moore. You can see here it gives step-by-step instructions how to draw a turtle. It has children write about the turtle. On the next page it gets a little bit more advanced. Here it's a little bit more free writing and it says explain why the turtle is hiding. All of the drawings in this book are really cute. In addition, it prompts kids to learn how to write the letters and spell the words. This is what the BrainQuest workbooks look like. I usually get them from Amazon.com. They're usually between $7 and $12, and I use them the whole year. I pull out things that I know that we need to practice, or sometimes I use those for samples for our charter school teacher. This BrainQuest version has spelling and vocabulary, language arts, reading and writing, math skills and word problems, addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, fractions and decimals, geometry and measurement, probability and data, social studies, and science. It has a ton of subjects in there. These are something that I use in addition to something like timeforlearning.com or IXL.com. Being that I like to do a lot of other creative and inventive types of learning, I prefer to depend on those as somewhat of a backbone. If you can see here, you can see that BrainQuest starts at preschool and goes until 6th grade. But the older kids get, the less they have to rely on things like worksheets, and the more they have more multi-step, more complicated projects and reports. And I think I'll depend a lot more on the library this year. I don't know if you can see it, but in addition, it's color-coded by subject, which also I find very convenient. These books are very user-friendly. They even have tear-out pages, and they're all colored inside. You can see with this one, the Harcourt version, it has test prep, writing, language arts, spelling, math, and reading. I like these in addition, but you can see that we don't use that much of the material. They do still have some colored pages, but not as many as the BrainQuest. I found that it was just a little bit too redundant for my learner since she learns very quickly and I have to keep up with her pace. Most students do need more repetition, so something like this might be your cup of tea. And now you know why it's a really great idea to connect with the community of homeschoolers in your area, because we have days at the park where we will curriculum swap and sell our items or trade. I still have things from 1st grade and 3rd grade, and this whole notebook can be utilized by another family. There can't be more than 15 or 20 pages that have been used in this. This would be ideal to take to a curriculum swap or a park day and give or share with another family. You can find that you can do a lot of homeschooling for free that way, just with connecting with other people. This is the cheapest, simplest way to organize your homeschool curriculum and program, which is by subject per spiral notebook. You might need more paper than this as time goes on. If that's the case, I just buy more notebooks of the same color and label them Social Studies and History Part 2. Now on the inside cover, you can see I've written down a whole bunch of different resources that I might want to use for social studies or history for my daughter. It just makes it easy to brainstorm it first, and then to go back later when we're in the moment learning, I can go back and figure out what we feel like doing that day. This often travels with us to the library, sometimes park days, so we always label the inside with our phone number and our names, what school year it is, so that I can save this in a file for later, especially if you're a family who's going to do a PSA and homeschool on your own. It's really nice to have some files to hold on to. So the materials that I wrote down here, CNN 10, which is 10 minutes of current events for students. This is something they use in public schools as well. That's something I would have my daughter watch and then write a reflection about after, or maybe she would write about what she knows, what she wants to know, and then what she's gonna go learn. So then it becomes a research project. Another thing on the list here is character spotlight. I just call it that. Character spotlight just means that you look up someone from history and you do a little report about what you learned. Something else on this list is vocabulary, compare and contrast cultures, which we like to study a lot since I love anthropology. A KWL chart is something very easy to look up online. There are a lot of graphic organizers for free on education.com, or you can look them up on Pinterest. A KWL chart is a very simple chart. It just means what you know, what you want to know, and what you have learned. IXL.com, with the topic of social studies, of course. BrainQuest social studies pages. Liberty Kids videos. Some of them are not great quality if you get them on YouTube, but I happen to like getting those on YouTube. I think they might also be on Netflix. We also have Story of the World, the CD set, which I like to put in the car while we're driving somewhere and we can listen to the Story of the World CDs. Many people really like that resource. And I also use a lot of games for history and social studies. There's a lot of materials out there that are game style for those topics. So I just do that for every subject or any subject we want to learn. And as we go through it, I figure out what's important and what's not important, and I come up with ideas that are creative and fun, try to blend things together, try to follow her lead a little bit, see if this week is a week that she wants to study cultures or is this a week she wants to do geography. Some people do a lot more lesson planning in advance. I do once in a while. For instance, one time we had a bunch of clay. We happened to have materials that would lend well to shaping the organelles of the inside of a cell. So I decided, aha, I'm gonna put those two things together, make it more hands-on and fun, and get a lot more quality and value and time with the subject. So we talked about the organelles and I read to her about them as we were making them. They dried in a day or two, and then we decided to paint them. And then we glued them onto a poster board and drew the cell around it. It was so much fun. It was kind of like a science fair project, only we had nowhere to turn it into. Those types of things we just show off to our family instead. I like using the KWL, what you know, want to know, and what you learned chart for this book here. This book was originally about $25, but it's actually a lending library book from the lending library of our charter school. You can also find this at the regular library or on Amazon. What I like to have my daughter do with this book is look up one state and then do the KWL chart with that state, and then it kind of flows from there. We get curious about something we read, something about what kind of food that they harvest there, or what type of clothing those people wear, how much snow they get, what the attractions are in that state. There's only a couple pages per state in this book. However, they're fully colored glossy pages, and they have a lot of detail for the small amount of pages that you're consuming. This is really great when I want her to do something like plan a trip for us and write down all the things that we might need, schedule the time of year she thinks would be the right time of year to go see this place, write down all the attractions and natural locations that she'd like to visit. We can look up the state's webpage, or different cities like the capital will have their own webpage. We can look that up and look into the population there. We can look into housing prices. It could go all over the place. Usually, just like researching something on the internet, natural learning flows like that. It usually flows from one thing into the next. Maybe she wants to look something up on Wikipedia. Maybe we go and compare that with something else on DuckDuckGo. Maybe we then get sidetracked with one of the links that talks about sheep and sheep herding and how you shear them, right? So it becomes a fuller, bigger experience. And then at some point, we can bring in other things like art or movies, conversations with family members, or sometimes it's obvious it's just not her interest right then, and we'll spend a small period of time and then shift into something else that she obviously naturally is being drawn to. So for instance, if she's been sitting there not paying that much attention, twiddling her fingers and trying to mess with things like the edges of the paper and things like that, then I might decide to take a break and go get some flour and start making some dough or some homemade slime or Play-Doh. Or maybe I'll have her take a break and go do PE stuff, like go outside and ride her bike or roller skate or kick a ball around, or we'll go in the backyard and garden. She loves to catch all the roly-poly bugs that like to try to eat our plants. She catches them and she makes terrariums for them, and she gives them all of the things that they need for their habitats. So I don't have to force a lot of science. She'll go and look these things up on her own. I don't really use Google anymore because I don't like how they tell you what it is you're looking for, but I still keep Google as an option on my phone because Google Lens is the little square on the side of the search box. If you push that, you can take pictures of plants or animals or shoes or bugs that you don't know what they are, and figure out what they are and then learn more about that creature. So I don't have to do a lot of forced biology or forced science. These are things that we naturally have interest in. We naturally want to seek this stuff out. So she doesn't know a lot of the time that she's learning or that I'm teaching her something because it's in the course of the day. And we both are on a journey together to look up things and to learn new things. And so we follow our passions, and I model that for her. I model the creativity, and I come up with ideas of new resources or new materials we can be using, or a new idea, or hey, did you know this about roly-polies? Oh my gosh, right? So it's really easy once you just like to learn and spend fun times with your kids. You can find ways to infuse learning into those experiences. Let me know in the comments if you want me to start a blog or something about the creative things that I do with my daughter. So maybe you can pull some ideas off of that. If you have comments or questions, don't forget to reach out. I hope this was helpful for you to pick out some curriculum of your own or to see how simple it can be. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Put more effort on designing something creative and fun than you do on picking out the tool. Because after all, they're just tools. What you do with it is what's important. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.